Die letztjährigen Preisgewinner der BSI Awards, BuildingSMART International Awards 2018 in der Kategorie Construction, also Bauausführung. Wir haben gestern schon den Gewinner im Bereich Planung gehört. Das war Terminal 2 des das neue Terminal 2 des Flughafen Oslo. Wir sind in der glücklichen Situation, dass tatsächlich alle drei Preisgewinner ohnehin zum Summit kommen. Und wir wären ja doof, wenn wir diese Gelegenheit nicht nutzten, um Ihnen zu zeigen, wie ganz beispielhaft die BuildingSMART-Standards in den Projekten unserer Preisträger tatsächlich angewandt werden, wie gut sie schon funktionieren. Und jetzt also als zweite jetzt in der Kategorie Construction ist das Projekt Pontsteiger, ein Wohnbauprojekt aus Amsterdam an der Reihe. Es sind zwei Referenten hier und zwar ist das Jeffrey Truijens von Dura Vermeer und Menno Mekes von Arons und Gelauff Architects. Sie werden sicher kurz was zu Ihrem Unternehmen sagen. You will probably say a few words about your professional background, about your offices, about your company. But then, und dann vor allen Dingen geht es darum zu erfahren, wie in diesem ikonischen Wohnbauprojekt, Sie kennen vielleicht die Bilder schon, wie da in der Konstruktion, in der Ausführungsphase BuildingSMART International Standards zur Anwendung kam. Herzlich willkommen. The floor is yours.
Good morning. My name is Menno Mekes. I work at Arons, Gelauff architects, and I'm a Pontsteiger. This is Jeffrey Truijens. He was one of the BIM directors for Pontsteiger and works at the Dura Vermeer, the construction company who joined forces with building company Dusseldorf to develop and build Pontsteiger. Now, before Jeffrey and I start talking about how this building was engineered, let me give you a quick introduction to the building itself. In 2006, we won the competition for Pontsteiger, a building to mark the new old part of Amsterdam, Houthavens. These former timber docks are being transformed into a housing area. Me and my colleagues worked very hard on filing the 2D building permit and finished just in time before the financial crisis hit. It got cancelled. In the years that followed, many attempts to revive the plan had failed. Until 2014, where Dura Vermeer and Dusseldorf bought the land, the water, the plan, and luckily they bought us as well. Construction started in 2015, and now we have a proud award-winning landmark, Pontsteiger. But why does this building look like a chair? We were allowed to build a tower 150 meters high. What should we? Because all the local towers in Amsterdam are about 90 meters high. It's a housing project, so we need to take into account where people would like to live. It's no surprise to you that most people would like to live in a penthouse or at ground floor. So an hourglass shape is therefore the optimal solution. Of course, we tried many other shapes. Now let me recap months of hard design work in a few simple steps. A tower. A high tower would be a landmark, definitely. You would have a great view over Amsterdam and you can even see the sea. But what about the public space? Tower entrances are always windy, the view is for the happy few, and the surrounding area, Houthavens, will be low-rise. A block then. Everybody would be living at the ground floor, near the water. The building would be in scale with the surrounding Houthavens, but there's an interior space. We would say, make it public, but the residents would like to keep it private. Oh yeah, we also got a footprint in the design brief, and a building like this would never fit. A block tower then. Lots of people would be living with a great view. It's a high-rise, so it can become a landmark, and lots of people would be living on ground floor near the water. And if we lift the building 2 stories, we also solve the public space. Now, Pontsteiger means ferry dock. The old ferry dock was demolished to make room for 2 layers of parking. Public spaces, entrances, and a new ferry dock. On top of that, the block tower. Low-rise and towers contain 300 rental apartments. On top of that, the part that we call the bridge, which contains 66 market apartments. Expensive apartments with a beautiful view. Okay, Jeffrey, let's build this landmark.
Thank you, Menno. Very nice to see that an architect with such a vision can realize such a beautiful project. But how do you organize such a project? For us, it all started with agreements, because with agreements you can come to a good collaboration, and with a good collaboration you can make such a landmark. So, how do we start? Get a room. So, if you get in a room with people, you can discuss the different ambitions that all the parties have. And also you can stretch each other to do a little bit more than they're used to. So, that's what we did. We defined our ambition, and then we started. Not by reinventing everything yourself. Lex on also here in between us. Together we sat down and we said, okay, how are we going to organize it? So we had a simple statement: use and combine available knowledge and standards rather than reinvent it yourself. And that was our motto during the whole project, and even now. So in the Netherlands we have the peer with also the BIM locket. And they describe a vision about different stages of BIM. You could start by sharing documents, but that's not BIM. You can start at your own company using BIM models, but that's not BIM. No, we said our ambition is a level 2. So we want to share and organize BIM models throughout the whole supply chain. And we decided with the whole team that this will be the vision. What is our way of work? So, we also not reinvent it ourselves, but we borrowed it from Gelauff in this point, and we used a hamburger model. I don't know if you know it, but it's a way to look at a project and to organize your project concerning the information management. So it has really a demand and supply side, and it's the key to have focus on the project itself. So everybody doesn't have to look at his own part, but it has to look at the total. And then you can see you have a demand side with designers, the architect, the structural engineer, the MEP engineer, and afterwards you get together with the suppliers, with the people who install the MEP, and you get all the knowledge on the table and get the best product for the client. So, two parties who not only built this project, but also developed the project. So, the most beautiful thing, I think, what here happened, is that we got one vision on how to build. No company started standards, but just from scratch and with all open standards in mind. So, typically naming the why, the how, and the what. So we could convince everybody who wants to join this project, knowing what is expected of them. So, a simple plan. But a plan is not only a plan if you don't explain it. So we all made supporting documents to explain to people how to use open standards, because it was in 2014, 2015 in the Netherlands not common to use open standards and to agree on this kind of things. We made mouse pads for the BIM modelers and the BIM engineers to make it easy for them to follow our agreements, because you can say, hey, here's your contract, do like the contract asks you to do, but you can motivate them, you can help them to really accomplish that. So that was really the story about agreements. And then we have to go into the project and help each other. Help each other to export the right IFCs. Help them to put in the right information and to find the information by use of classifications, and make sure that if someone doesn't get it, you explain them what's handy about it. So we can do all kind of stuff to show to other people how this works. If you want to hear more about how we did it with agreements and how it evolved to a Dutch standard way of work, just sit down and come at noon, because Lex and Menno will gladly take you into the BIM basic idea.
Thank you. The biggest challenge in any BIM process is working together. As you all well know, a BIM is not one file made by one company. It's a lot of files made by a lot of companies. So in order to clash, we first need to build our models according to all the agreements that Jeffrey just explained. I mean, clashing two perfect models will still result in too many issues if there is no communication. We need to get together. Now, this was already a challenge in the design phase, but there were only three parties, three companies that were working together. Now, we all use the same software, Revit, so we could link each other's models into our own to create a fast workflow. 5 years ago, we were still getting used to the Revit server and all the demands regarding openBIM. So every 2 weeks, we would export our models to IFC, which was then checked by the contractor and discussed in meetings. Now, we not only need to get together, we need to start working together. And now, we need to get even more technical with more people. That's why we decided to dedicate every Thursday on the project. Now, I would start in the morning modeling. At 9, there would be a BIM meeting where we would discuss all the issues and clashes. And yes, there's a big difference between an issue and a clash. For me, as a modeler, it was very convenient to stay all day. Usually after a BIM meeting, lots of people would go back to the office, but I would stay, work on the issues at hand. And all day I would attend all the technical meetings, so details were drawn on flipovers and smartboards. So direct input for the model was being generated. And we work with people from all over the country, so elements and their engineers had to come from all corners. So spending time efficient was key. And by the time they went home, they would check up on me and could already see some of the elements in 3D we had already designed in the morning. And now let's build together. The openBIM approach is applicable to anything. No islands, no secrets, no worries. We share everything we do and make. And yes, it can be very scary, especially for smaller companies who are afraid of being taken advantage of. Concurrent engineering is a place outside most people's comfort zone, but it makes building a lot more fun.
So when you get together and to make good models, then the next step is to coordinate all those information in those models. So how did we do that? Starting point, the Hamburger model. It allows us to get focused on the several points of model coordination, and I will take you to it in a briefly way in our 4 steps. So the first step, first of all, check if the model is okay in itself. Did it comply to all the agreements that we make? So check the different parts of the agreements, and if it's not okay, first fix that, because if you want to coordinate, this is the basic. Then step 2, you want to get your demand models all online, because it's the communication towards the suppliers which they get on working. So we did 2 things. We did the visual control, so looking at the models and detecting any errors, but also by clash control, setting rule sets between the different disciplines and to make control about it. Then step 3, look if the supplier delivered what in the demand model is modeled. So you can check if it's between the agreements. And then you can filter the model and you can check if it's okay. So you can make the demand model and you can overlay it with the supply model and you can check if it's okay. You can look at the different parts of it, and by clash control you can automatically detect if it's okay. So this is a supply model, and it detects any emulations. So here you see all the things you maybe have to check. Then step 4, check the supply models with each other, because this is a crucial step in towards assemble the building at its place. So the detail level is really getting up. And the importance to check this throughout the whole project is really important to have no problems assembling the building. So here you see a beautiful example of that. Then, how do you organize all these model coordinations? You have different roles. So every team got its own BIM coordinator, and we had, because of the scale, also 2 BIM directors. Mark and Mike, they were really great. Lex and I were thinking a lot about which agreements do you have to do, and these were the pitbulls who really made it happen and get all the parties aligned. So really great job what they did. And what they really did is activate the whole team using trusting models. And it's really an achievement, because at that time not all the companies were used to work like this. So you see all kinds of pictures about working together with the models in mind, helping each other, and I think a really beautiful example.
BIM director, a new profession in the building industry. With BIM, remarks should not be made on 2D drawings. This is a thing of the past, since annotating a 3D model into old-fashioned 2D drawings takes forever. Now the best thing about openBIM is the export to IFC, and because every building phase was a couple of months too short, we may have created a few issues we couldn't resolve before creating new ones. About 6,000 of them, which 800 are mine. 5 years ago, we were still getting used to openBIM. Didn't know all the IFC parameters just yet. So for example, the Dutch NLSB classification code, it has been around forever, but as architects, we don't really use it that much. And contractors, they especially use it for filtering and sorting. So all these issues were then stored in reports that we would discuss every other week. Now clashes, I really don't have to tell you this because everybody knows what a clash is, obviously. Clashes are, the contractor did this in solidly, see if geometry intersects with other geometry. Or maybe check if a window can still be opened and doesn't hit a column. Now as a team, we got to test the issue management platform BIM. This is a website, a portal where all issues are stored and are accessible for all the team members. Issues and BCF files can be uploaded directly from the Communication tab in Solidly. Now when creating an issue, you can decide what kind of message you want to relay. Is it an issue, fault, clash, request, inquiry, remark? We just stuck with issues and clashes. Keep it simple. Now, I would sometimes create an issue if I would like someone else to change something in the model. Usually this is already discussed over the phone or in a meeting, but by creating an issue, the whole team knows that we discussed this. So in this example, I show Harry, the structural engineer, one wall opening he should remove and which one he can leave in. So I create the issue, Harry then changes his model and resolves the issue. And this is very important, that the resolved issues are still open. They're then checked by the contractor, and if agreed upon, the issues can be closed. If not, the issue can be reopened. Now, looking at slides in the meeting is nice, but I'm a modeler, so I have to fix these issues and clashes. So with Gelauff came the BCF connector. Now, there are other connectors around, but this one has the advantage of a direct link to Gelauff. So in Pontsteiger, we've learned 2 important issue management lessons. First one is always be very careful when creating issues. Always use only 1 or 2 elements that are related to the issue and not all elements visible of view, like you see here. Use the area correct, so the modeler can filter by model. If I work in a facade model, and there are already 3 facade models in Pontsteiger, I don't want to see or accidentally double-click an issue that is related to something in the basement. Now you can also use the milestone to push issues forward in time to the next building phase, because most of the obvious clashes I showed you earlier on are less important in the design phase. Of course, you need to keep them in mind, but work on the bigger picture first. Being able to open a window or change its glass panels is far more important when designing a building. Now, Pontsteiger followed the 80-20 rule in everything. 80% of this building is being prefabricated. At 60 meters high, from a boat, 4 steel frames the size of a bridge were placed on top of prefabricated concrete walls. Now they all fit. No cutting, no welding, no braking, just hoisting and fixing. Now, if you think 6,000 issues is a lot, it's necessary. To build like this precise, we have to simulate everything in the BIM beforehand. So Pontsteiger is big. It's really big. All the prefabricated elements are big, heavy, and numerous. I even had to cut a few of these in half because the crane couldn't lift them. That is the mass of the building. At ground level, we've created 4 beautiful curved pavilions, wooden curtain walls with straight glass panels. And here we find a hidden treasure of prefabrication, concrete windowsills, 400 of them, and 280 unique ones. So you see that prefabrication is not just about the sheer number of repetition. Okay, Jeffrey, tell me how you got all this onto the site.
So it's one thing to have an ambition to do it like this and with all the prefabrication. And in the Netherlands, it's really a trend to do more and more prefabrication. But it has also consequences for the way you organize your building. So we had to support the site in the right way. So what did we do at the start of the project? We certainly made sure that the construction site is totally in BIM. So not only to make it visual about what's going where, but also to think about logistics, communication with the municipality, and the certain things you have to encounter. So what we did is think about the crane movements and the crane weights, what's possible. But also we think about how will it get there? How will the crane stand on its own? And maybe it has consequences for the things we have to build. So temporary facilities are also important to take into account when you think of BIM. It's not only about the end situation. So what did we do more? Because all of the prefabrication we have elements, but the elements had to stay at the right position. So all the props and the anchors that were needed were also taken into a BIM model. So we made sure that there was no drilling necessary on the site. And we had really a lot of anchors and props, but they were all coordinated and then nothing had to be drilled on site. So that's really a time effort, but it has a beautiful result. Then we had another thing, because we had such a bridge construction, how do you do the ceiling from beneath? That's really a challenge for the whole construction team. So what they thought about was making a hanging platform. But making a hanging platform, how do you do that? Designing it first in BIM. So you can think about the consequences, you can make sure that it's possible, and then also really important for us as general contractors, you can work safe. Because if we can't work safe, we don't work at all. So this is a way you get a beautiful result, but in a safe way. I think we have showed in the last presentation and in the way we did BIM at this project, I believe this is BIM at the best. Not only because we made a landmark with it, but also because we had beautiful details in the building. Some you will see, some no one will see at all. But this is really beautiful, in my opinion, and we had a beautiful team. And I believe I've made more friends on this project than any other project at all. And the beautiful thing is that they're all proud of being a part of this project. And we are even prouder that we won the award with this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Don't be shy. Auf Deutsch oder in English? So let me start. I'm not too shy. What was the original decision? How did it come from to make a BIM project? Because I guess you are making such architecture, such projects for centuries, or for many years at least. Who decided to make a real BIM project out of it?
Yeah, that was really at the beginning of the project. They said this is a project who will run until 2018, 2019 to deliver it. And the directors of the developing, they said, we don't want a situation that we are in 2019 and they think, what is this, a crappy way of work? So make a way of work that it will be still the most modern way of work in 2019. So they really set a high standard.
So you want to be, by the end of the project, most up-to-date as possible. Not so much at the beginning, not so much in the progress. It was kind of an experience for you as well, but your goal was in 2019.
Yeah.
And
time, of course.
And of course,
time. Like I said, every building phase was a few months too short, which was true. We had to file for the building permit 31st of August in 2014, because otherwise the Schiphol didn't allow us to build a building that high. So after that, if you would file a building permit, the plan would have got cancelled. So by doing it in BIM and openBIM, it's more efficient than doing it the old-fashioned way, so you also build faster.
When you had the goal in mind when you started, is there also was there the chance to hand over all the data to those operating and managing the building, or did the BIM way, the process, stop after you were finished? Do you know how that ended up or how it went on?
Yeah, in that case, we really had a design and construct focus. So this project was really about doing that with BIM, and yeah, we developed it, but the ownership is really in how do you call that in English? The collaboration of ownership. So that was not really one company who said, okay, we have a demand for BIM during operating maintenance.
In the meantime, some questions? One question? If not, maybe let's talk about the awards program. You know, probably, or hopefully you know that this program starts once a year at BuildingSMART International, and the time has come that you hand in your projects for the 2019 award. When came your decision to participate, to hand in your application? Was it easy? Was it hard for you? Did it mean a lot of work to hand in an application?
Yeah, I was in Paris with the summit, and there they presented it that you could do a submission. And then we texted a lot of people in our team, so shouldn't it be great if we do that? And then there were more announcements to get the application done. And then we decided, okay, we go for it, and we're going to sit down with the team. And I think you have two submissions. First, you have to do like a really short bio of your project and which standards do you use. And then we had to make supporting documents to underline if the things we wrote down were actually true.
Was it a two-phase or two-step application process then? So.
And then we have to...
The first step is not too hard.
No, that's really easy. So that's just stating why your project, in a short bio, what kind of project is it, and why is it a good example of openBIM, and just noting if you're using IFC, BCF, or any other standard. But then comes the real job, explaining how you did it, and why you did it, and what you did. And we had a lot of fun out of it, because we came together as a team. And we assembled a lot of people to get input for the application. So it was a really nice, nice period, I think.
As far as I know,
the reunion of the engineers, it was fun. Yeah.
I think BuildingSMART and all other players who are trying to push BIM and digitization forward, they concentrate on so-called use cases. So it's not that we demand or we expect everything in the whole aspects of BIM in one project, but focusing in our awards, for example, in our award program, on certain use cases. Can you just, do you remember what the main use cases were you are especially proud of, probably, that you dealt with IFC, for example? What were your use cases you did?
I think that we were a little bit, in Dutch we call it eigenwijs, because we really didn't read the application maybe as it should, but we described just our way of work. And it was openBIM from for to back, so we thought we just describe how you make agreements, how you do concurrent engineering. So openBIM really supports concurrent engineering, how we do model coordination, how we do issue management, and how we supported the site activities. And that's just what you saw in this presentation. So we had like 5 topics, and that were our use cases.
Still quite a range. Yeah.
We was working together, like the concurrent engineering part, it was really what I've learned there, to work together with people, just sit in one room for a whole day and start engineering and working together, because that's just a lot of fun to build. Because then if you know your fellow modelers, before in old-fashioned projects, you would just talk to them over the phone or only speak with their supervisors. And now I know the structural engineer, I know all the guys who model the MEP, and usually you don't know them, but now I get to know all these people. So that's nice. Fun.
Okay. Obviously, you even makes fun. It's even fun working together in that kind of way. Okay. Any questions? If not, that's it. Okay. So finally, please hand over the microphone to that Mr. Please stand up. Yeah, you have a microphone.
Hi, I'm Damien Chevara. I'm head of BIM in Switzerland, and I would like to see, or to explain me, what is the process directly on site with the quality control, for example, that I haven't seen in this presentation. What is BIM to fit software? What is your work together with all provider or all for the old furniture? Because we have speak about prefabricated elements that I haven't seen.
Yeah, we did a couple of stuff. I think your question is about how did we support really the site and which programs did we use to do that. So it's really about the activities we organize. So we always start the day with a daily start. And that's when you look at what activities will be planned today and using the model to show, okay, at the end of the day, this must be finished. That's one example. Two examples is we make work plans. So with the BIM models, we made visualizations about the order of assembly, and that made it really clear for the people who had to assemble if it's possible to note risks and so forth. And the third thing was that there was always a model on the TV screen, so the team could see all of the parts of the model. So that was mainly in the building where we organized it. So in the building itself, it was really the working plans that we sent them out with. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon and good morning. You mentioned that the project originally was delayed because of the financial crisis.
Yeah.
Did the approach have anything to do with getting the eventual green light and being able to proceed? Did a BIM approach, were you able to say that it would be more cost effective or not, and was it part of the decision?
The decision of why it was cancelled, you mean?
No, once it was eventually given the green light, was it part of the decision process?
The decision to make it in BIM, with BIM, or at all?
Yeah, the decision of using a BIM program like this, was it part of the financial consideration for yes or no?
No, I don't think so. Because BIM is about the building and not about...
You can see it in two parts, I think. First of all, the financial crisis, there were no investors to it, so that's why Dura Vermeer and the NICE step up and get the plan out of the ground. But it was a condition of us to say, okay, but if we're going to do it, we have to save time, so we have to use BIM. So that was really, and gladly, all the advisors on that project, they agreed on that. And I think we saved 4-5 months in the whole process of designing phases. Yeah.
I would like to add one thing, like the company said it has to be built within 2 years. So we had to speed up the building speed, so they decided it has to be prefabricated for 80% because it was otherwise too expensive to build that company, build that building. So, and then they said if everything is prefabricated, we do everything in BIM. And it's part of the... If they didn't say that, then it wouldn't buy the land and they wouldn't develop this building. That was part of the strategy.
Any more questions? I think we would be ready, of course. This should have some sort of a workshop character, so don't hesitate. Okay.
Is there anywhere in your project did you use point cloud, which is also very important nowadays in the BIM projects?
No, we didn't use any point cloud because there was nothing there, just water. So there was nothing to scan in that model. So.
No, generally what happens, that's okay, but generally what happens in the construction process, you will find